We're live to Matrix Talk, and we're going to be doing a intermediate training today, psychological flexibility training. And if you're on with us, we do have one person on. Check in, tell us where you're from. I'm in Maine. The birthplace of independence, by the way, is Philadelphia.
I was going to ask, but you gave them the answer.
Well, they may be from away.
That's true.
And I don't remember where Ron is from, but he's been with
Ron
us.
is in Maryland, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's right down below me. Yeah, there he is. Hi,
Ron.
Ron.
Maryland. Okay. Well, there you go. And, well, hi, guys. Hi, Ron. We'll give folks a couple of minutes to sign on. See if they do. We had quite a few people for the beginning, and quite a few people signed up for this, but
yes,
so far it's just Ron live. Nevertheless, we'll roll through an intermediate.
It'll be there. It'll be here, and it'll be it'll also end up being part of the certificate CEU event that you can use to continue your ongoing practice.
If you chat.
If you're right.
If you participate.
If you participate. You'll have to show evidence, like you say, I was here.
We have another person. James has shown up. Well, hello, James.
Hi, James.
And if you can, James, check in the chat. Say where you're from. If you're new, you can also go up and follow us. And
Please.
Of course, you can always click the green button and sign up for certification and training and masterminds.
Come and check us out.
Stuff that we do. And
we do quite a bit of stuff, actually.
And join up, because every little bit helps.
Yep.
James Wagley.
Oh,
Minnie,
okay.
Louisiana? Really? Minnie?
All right.
I didn't know there was such a town as Minnie.
Well,
anywhere.
Well,
wow, cool.
Yeah,
I have been to Louisiana, though, a few times.
Yeah, okay. So welcome back, James.
Cool.
Nice of you too.
103, we'll give it another minute or two, see if anybody else shows up. We are sort of sliding toward the 4th of July holiday here in the States, and in Europe, the July-August shutdown. They just sort of, everybody goes away. So I always suspect some of that going on. But even if you're here on the recording, chat in, show that you're participating. And yes, it would be worth one CEU. Trying to keep people practicing, doing the point of view over and over and over. Do it
because that's what we do.
Do it many, many, many times, right?
Right.
Obviously, just because of what we do, we do it many times per week. And that's when you, like most anything else in life, that's when you get pretty salty at it, you know. you
becomes
used to it.
Part of your repertoire.
Yeah. It sort of rolls out. 104, we'll start.
Okay.
So, we if you're starting and this is the second session you're doing with somebody, you say, hey, remember the point of view? Let's review it. Let's review it really quick, okay?
There you go.
Remember that senses are up at the top. That's your 5 senses. Your mind, your thoughts and feelings and stuff, is down there at the bottom. Over to the right is things you do and you get satisfied that you do. And over on the left are things you do and you get relief. And that forms 4 quadrants. And to do this exercise, we fill in the 4. Can you start with nothing on the whiteboard? Hey, Ron, we almost never do that. You can do that. Phil and I almost never do that.
Here, but I can do it right now. There you go.
Okay. I will tell you that Phil and I are sneaky, and we sneak in ahead of time and do the senses, mind, satisfaction, relief, and put who's important to you in the lower right quadrant. Why? Because the person or persons coming in the room are then presented with that question. So that's why we do that. In a pinch, and I have to, I can start from scratch. But, I prefer not to. And then we ask, and there's the question, who's important to you?
Who and what?
No, we don't do who and what. We just do
who's
who.
still there.
Yeah, we do who. And who's important to you is the question that we start with. And then we have people fill that out.
And then Ron says, my kids.
And there's my kids. And I will say, my wife.
And I would say wife too. So
but anyone, including lots of people, 99% of the time, people put dogs.
Yes.
Other dogs in there. And the old dogs are people too thing. Yep. And that's if you're interested in explanations for why we start with who, tune in on Friday. We explain that stuff.
We will be diving into it.
In the meantime, that's important stuff. And by the way, later on, what's important to you also goes in that quadrant. But for now, we're just going to bebop over to the lower left quadrant and talk about yucky stuff that shows up inside of us. Oh, you got to notice my telly on the wall, which is there.
That's music. All right, so I'll put music down.
Yeah, there music is important. There we go. And, but on the lower left, we write down yucky stuff that shows up inside of us, like fear. So we all have fear. It keeps us alive. Keeps us avoiding danger. So cool fear. But there's other. We have Tina Long has written in uncertainty shows up. And uncertainty. That can show up. By the way, something like physical pain. You got a splinter in your finger or something is yucky. As a matter of fact, if you have a splinter in your finger, you will have a powerful urge.
You're going to go to town on that, baby. I will. I would.
Right.
Disappointment. Yes. Pain. Disappointment
is one. Gosh, what somebody was telling us, all the thousands of different yucky emotion words. That there are in the English language anyway. But they're just naturally occurring things that show up in all of us. Anxiety is a very popular one.
Anger.
Sadness is very popular. That kind of stuff. Doubt. Apparently doubt's pretty popular. And
grief. There you go, James. You got it.
There's one. Yeah. Grief. So from there, we go to the upper left. And when we go to the upper part, remember it's behaviors, observable behaviors. So like fear, you might run in response to the fear. What else we got on there?
I got uncertainty.
Go read something. Ron says avoid. Avoid is just the catch-all that we all do.
That'll do. I heard one yesterday. Someone said, avoid the lunchroom.
Yeah, there you go. Avoid is really popular. Early humans, on the edge of the plain, hiding in the rocks, and many of them avoided going out in the open.
And they stayed alive.
So no, they had to figure out how to get food otherwise, but avoidance is built into us. It's just built in.
Medicine, for pain.
And you can notice medicine. Let's put and also all those drugs like alcohol and heroin and marijuana.
Oh, you mean the non-prescription stuff?
Any kind of stuff like that are
Drugs.
very, very, very
Yep.
popular relief moves. So ETOH, right? So anyway, so you get the idea on that, and then we're looking for satisfaction in the upper right, and so you do something for a loved one, like I'm often, almost always, make my wife coffee in the morning. That's very satisfying to me, and
Make coffee.
that's something I do. Often go down and talk to my kids. There we go. Play with toddlers. Exactly. These activities like this that, the majority of the time result in satisfaction, this feeling of satisfaction. That
Walk the dog.
Walk the dogs, yeah. Pet the dog. Feed
Play
anything.
music.
Feed anything.
Yeah,
It's usually satisfying to have feed folks. So you get the idea. To make it a point of view, we put noticing right in the middle, and we ask ourselves the question: do we think we'll have the opportunity to notice who's important to us, and yucky stuff, and relief behaviors, and satisfaction behaviors showing up in the next week or so? We go, you know what? I think yes. I think I will have the opportunity to notice. You can't add. There's no requirement that you notice.
You must do that.
You imagine that you might have the opportunity to notice. Most people will at least have the opportunity. So there you go. And so that's how we start. If you want to, you can do the second loop, if needed. And it's the same diagram, except we switched the question to what's our shared purpose. This is very handy with couples and teams and such. And then after that, it's social yucky stuff, social relief moves, and the stuff that we do to achieve a shared purpose. Right? And I just went through that very quickly, but my goodness, with couples and teams and stuff, that's dynamite.
Oh yeah, especially having conversations down here about shared purpose.
Yeah, that's research shows, just as a little bitty aside, like 80% of your benefit in working with couples and teams comes from clearly defining shared purposes. I don't know, some of you may have been on a team or in a couple where the shared purposes were not clearly defined. And I know I have. Bill's been on such teams.
What are we doing here? What is this all about?
And so it's really important work. So anyway, so that's and once again, same thing. You do the point of view. You put notice in the middle, and you ask, do you think we'll have the opportunity to notice shared purposes showing up, social yucky stuff, social relief moves, and social satisfaction, or moves to accomplish the shared purposes showing up? And most of the time, people will go, I just might have an opportunity. I think I'll have the opportunity to notice. It's not that, once again, no requirement that you notice. It's just do you think, looking into the future, you'd have the opportunity to notice? Well, of course, most people are in situations in their life where, that opportunity would at least arise. So there you go. And so with that in place, you go, what did you notice?
Now they're back
again. Tell me about what you noticed. I know it sounds extraordinarily simple, but that's essentially what I do with folks. I show them the matrix, and then especially after the first time, it's like, well, what'd you notice? And you know what? It's a wild thing. People will tell you
Yeah.
what they know.
They just call off and begin saying stuff they noticed.
And they'll get chatty about it, and blah blah blah, telling a noticing story. Let's put it that way. And then you become, what do you call it, Phil? The interrupter.
The gentle art of interruption.
The gentle art of interruption, right? And what that means is somebody's going along, and the diagram that Phil is showing is a process diagram. When you look at it and you fill in the blanks and stuff, you're really looking at your life or your team's life as a process.
Here it is. There's a process.
You're looking at the process level. What we all do is we get to telling stories and we start sinking into content. That is, we get into stuff that we're very emotionally attached to.
Oh, it's really got us.
And we lose our process view, that distanced view.
Lose contact with the process.
And all humans, it's like a curve. You go from your noticing process to your way down into the content, and hopefully you poke back up to the process.
Back up again.
And of course, that's what we're doing with this, is that we're helping people who are almost always in their content, and we're helping them more often pop up out of that
to process
and to see the process. So in real time, the way you do that is they're chatting along and tell you about what they noticed, and you go, oh, that's a nice interrupting.
Yeah. That's my go-to. My stealthy go-to. Oh,
it's sort of like that. And you're going to go, basically, whatever you just said, or you can repeat what they said. Oh, you just mentioned your great uncle. Where would he go up here on the diagram?
Where might you put him?
And the person might go, oh. And right then you took them the process. It doesn't matter where they put the great uncle.
Nope.
Or anything else.
Accuracy is not the issue here.
What mattered was that you ever so politely interrupted their content talk and took them up onto the process plane. And what you invited them to do was sort, S-O-R-T, sorting. And that's what intermediate stuff is. It's about sorting. And I just did an example of one with you where, and you'll be surprised, folks. It really does sound like that. Oh,
yeah.
You just said, great uncle. Where might great uncle go up here on the diagram? That's it. There's no fanfare. It's
you have to add anything to it.
No, and well, I've never had somebody not do the sort.
No, once you invite them to sort.
And between Phil and I, we're talking tens of thousands.
Oh, easy
requests to sort. Okay, and the reason it doesn't take research. You just think, if you know a child, a very small child.
Think back to when you were a child.
When you were a child, you give them, some square blocks and round blocks and stuff, and they'll sort them.
Yeah.
And they'll sort their little plastic forks and spoons and stuff.
Put the purple pen over here and the red pen over here.
We all humans, unless you're just severely developmentally delayed.
That's another issue.
Some kind of issue that's rare. But other than that, no, you'll sort. And so when you invite somebody to sort like that, they go, oh, okay. And they sort, because it's very natural for us humans to sort stuff.
It's easy to do.
And this is easy, especially with the,
You only got 4 places where you can
where
put
you
it.
talked about your great uncle. Where's your great uncle go? Oh, he's
Yeah,
important to me.
there you go.
I'd put him, and usually they'd put him in the lower right. Once again, that doesn't really matter, but most of the time they would get sorted into the lower right. They might say, I hate him, I'm going to put him in the lower left.
Yeah. He
Now,
was a bugger. I want to put him on the right.
that's fine. We don't really, whatever. The
Wherever
point
you want.
is they had to take a distance point of view to do the
Step back.
sorting. And that's a practice skill, believe me, because you'll say, where's your great uncle go? And they'll say lower left, and every ounce of your being will want to correct it.
Yeah. The urge to sort for them.
Right.
Show
You
up.
want to sort it for them. And sometimes you will, and it's not the end of the world.
It's all right.
Don't worry about it. But so because not only do you want to sort, you want them to sort it into the, in quotes, right place.
Yes.
And there is no right in this. There's no wrong. It's just sorting.
Sorting.
Taking your content and sorting it. So,
What if they try to get you to confirm their sort? Like, in other words, is that the right place? Is that what you're saying, Ron? Is that where it goes? They might
I've
say.
never had it happen.
I haven't either.
And between the two of us, we're talking literally tens of thousands of trials on this, and we haven't had it show up. So I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
This is an
might
example, probably, of one of those things your mind comes up with things that people might do.
Yeah.
Phil and I call them,
The what ifs.
the what ifs.
Yeah.
What if a one-legged person with paranoid
What if a
schizophrenia,
one-legged psychopathic machete wielding person,
right,
comes into the room? What should you do? I'll run.
you go, right, I guess, right.
I'm leaving.
We have no idea. So no, we don't know. We don't have any.
Doesn't happen.
We don't have any data points on that.
Yeah.
People are cooperative with this.
They do. Yeah.
If you
I've experienced. Oh, you're really going to
matter of
write
fact,
down what I said. Yeah. Yeah. That's an experience I've had too. Oh, you're writing it down. Yeah. Well, you said it, so you're gonna write it down.
and people are really extraordinarily cooperative with this. Why? Because you're being very nice and matter of fact and non-judgmental.
Yeah, you're not casting any aspersions on what they're saying at all.
No, you're not.
Just asking them where might you put it.
Where might it go? And they'll let you know. Now, I guess I have had people have sort of asked for help, like where might it go? And now then all you have to do is repeat. Okay, well, senses go up there, and mine goes down there,
Right.
And who's important to you? It's stuff like that goes down there, and yucky stuff goes there. You just review the category.
Yeah, just here's the yucky stuff here, important stuff.
That doesn't
there.
happen very often because it's up in front of them.
Yeah.
We have the matrix up. Like it would be up over my shoulder,
It would be like behind me, like right here.
It's like that, right? It's usually now the way I do it, it's up over my left shoulder, just like Phil is holding it there, because I'm right-handed.
Because I want to turn, I'm going to turn like this.
Turn it right. I have had left-handed students, live in person, and of course they put it over their right shoulder because they write with their left hand. Doesn't matter.
It's okay. Whatever way you want to go.
However, that leads us to something. That little move like that.
Yeah.
That little move just like that.
That's not just a random act.
Some people that do Aikido, physical Aikido.
I'm one of them.
Which is the art of taking the martial arts, right? The martial art of taking energy that is like oftentimes in the form of a fist that's coming at you, and you make contact with that energy and you move it aside and it goes that way. So these Aikido experts were watching us work, and this is back in live. They were sitting in the room watching us do it, and they went, "Oh my God, that's literally verbal Aikido," meaning you're taking words that are coming at you, and you're taking them and writing them into the matrix.
Placing them on the board.
And so,
Harmless.
and it becomes, it's verbal Aikido. The important part of that, folks, is that means that content that could be very hooky to you,
Land right in here.
right, could get you right in the heart, can instead be deflected over. For example, you're the ugliest SOB that I've ever seen. And you go, oh, well, where might you sort that?
Yeah.
Notice how I went, oh, and that's to make contact. Oh, and then it's where might you sort it? Just like that. And now I don't have to take it on. I don't have to respond to it. I don't have to do anything with it. It just sort of, where would you put that up there? And it does. And once again, it doesn't matter where they put it.
No,
it's not
you're leading them into this experience once again.
And they might put it anywhere, whatever.
Yeah.
Fine with me. But now notice, and that's what we mean by the verbal Aikido part, is that stuff that might otherwise get you hooked.
Like words
that might get you hooked, you literally can move them aside. So we took what the Aikido master said and took it to heart, and we've been training it for 10 years, over 10 years. So, but it happens automatically. I know the chapter in the Essential Guide to the Act Matrix, Benji and
Fabian
wrote that chapter, and they made a really big deal out of it.
Yeah.
It just shows up. Folks, really, folks, it just shows up.
It does.
You're doing sorting, and you're going.
Yeah.
And after you do a whole bunch of times, you're doing verbal Aikido.
You're good.
You're literally doing it many, many, many times.
And then what starts to happen is they start doing it.
Right. And they start doing their own.
They pick up on it.
Right. They pick up.
They'll say something. And go, oh yeah, that goes in and they'll just say it, and they'll go, oh, and that goes in my lower left.
And then you'll do it with yourself.
Yes.
You'll think something or do something, and you'll go, oh, I would put that there. And now you're doing your very own verbal Aikido.
Doing verbal Aikido on yourself.
It's fun.
Which is very cool.
What's the only big deal about verbal Aikido is that you're queuing up. On a behavioral sense, you're queuing up. You're providing a stimulus for perspective taking.
Yep. Boom.
Or if you want to call it the observer self.
Yeah, people like observer self too.
They like observer self. Okay, yeah. Observer self,
take your pick.
Taking.
Same thing.
That would be like riding a bicycle versus, I don't know, coasting on a bicycle or something.
Yeah.
Same thing, It is not
pedaling a bicycle.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. You're doing the same thing.
I'm one of those. Perspective taking is a little more technical term for it. Observer self is sort of in the lingo. It's even in the act lingo.
Yeah.
But that's all you're doing is you're providing a stimulus to do it. So, whereas in acceptance and commitment training and therapy, they might say, today we're going to be talking about the observer self.
Oh, yes.
Blah, 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 about observer self. We don't do that with this. We just practice it a whole bunch of times.
Yes.
With ourselves and the people we're with. Ooh, where might that go? Ooh, where might that go? Ooh, how many times?
We're not talking about perspective taking. We're doing perspective taking.
We never even mention observers.
It doesn't come up in the conversation at all.
We don't mention any of that. We're doing it. That would be like, you really need to know the word balancing to ride a bike. No.
Not.
You don't need to know any words to ride a bicycle. None whatsoever.
No language required.
Right. And so you don't need it. So anyway, so there we go. So we've set it up. We go back in. We make sure that we got us a nice fresh matrix up. get that
Just
baby out.
like that.
Right. And for our purposes now, how we're thinking of it is it's a dartboard, you know.
Yeah.
It's a sorting board. It's one of those trays you have in your kitchen that has
Yeah.
spoon slots and fork slots and
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Right there in the drawer.
Right. That's what it's there for now. And so people can now converse. You can just have a natural conversation. And you know what? You might have a conversation and just never do a single.
Never need to do it. Yeah.
That's fine. I mean,
Yeah. They're just cruising along, talking. It's fine. They're doing great.
I mean, if somebody is sounding flexible and talking about flexible, and you know, they're giving you reports of, "Ooh, I noticed this and I noticed this,
and I did this with this important person.
I did this new thing, and it was, and I noticed how it worked."
Right.
That's all very flexible language.
Yeah.
We wouldn't sort that.
We do not want to interrupt that process.
We wouldn't
That's their
interrupt that
process.
flow. So don't get the idea that everything has to be sorted.
Yeah, you don't have to stop every 5 minutes and go, what?
But if
Where do you want to
somebody's
pick
saying,
up? No.
you know, that's so and so, you know, ex-spouse of mine.
Ooh.
You know, and they're heading into Stuckville. Well, then we might go, oh, here goes that O again. Oh,
Oh, that ex-spouse. Yeah.
and we're going to interrupt that. And that's why this is usually now we just call it life coaching, psychological flexibility coaching, psychological flexibility training.
Yeah.
We're that's because that's what we're up to, so that we're building up that perspective taking that
Observer self.
increases
Over time.
observe self, that increases psychological flexibility, that leads to, you know, a one way that people love to hear it is creative problem solving. Right.
You know, Kevin, that was the title for the first Act Matrix presentation I ever gave, setting the context for creative problem solving.
I told you, and people like that, of course, it's in the vernacular. And so you can say, we're setting up the context for creative problem solving, which you are. That's what you're doing.
Exactly what we're doing.
Typically, what you're doing is increasing the frequency of observer self noticing,
Showing up.
that increases psychological flexibility, and that leads to a higher probability of creative problem solving. Meaning a person says, gee, I could try this and see how it works.
Yeah.
And you say, well, you ever tried that before? And they might say, no, I never even thought of it before. But now that we're doing this, I've thought of this new thing. And that doesn't mean it'll work. If all of us had ideas and every one of them worked, well,
Oh, man.
that
We'd be
just
batting thousands all day long. It'd be great.
right, that wouldn't be life.
Yeah. Woohoo.
So the idea is that you come up with this new behavior to try, and then you notice if it works or not. And if it works, you keep it. And if it doesn't work, you either adjust it or you throw it away. You know? And that's basic problem solving.
Bingo.
And so it's also called the Evolutionary Model, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Which is what's got us this far, kind of thing.
It's that simple a process. It's just that we humans get away from it.
Oh, do we ever?
We get away from that simple process. That, by the way, when we were 1 and 2 and 3, and so we were exquisitely good at it.
Almost pure process.
Right. We were great at doing something and noticing if the workability of it, noticing if it worked. And then here comes language and all kinds of stuff. And you start playing make believe.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, that didn't work, but I think if I try it a whole bunch more times, it'll finally work. And
yeah,
all kinds of stuff happens that shows up in the way and gets in the way of that very simple process, which is why we learned long ago, especially Phil, young people do this better than old.
Oh, they're wizards at it.
Yeah, they pick it up very quickly, like they're picking up, foreign languages and stuff. They pick it up very quickly, whereas we older folks have more.
All that language to go through and history.
We have rules. We have.
Oh boy, do we ever
show up. However, with that said, most people get the hang of this. They will.
They do.
Some people don't. Some people look at it and go, never mind, I don't want to do that.
Not for me.
And we do not in any way, shape, or form try and convince them to.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we get that question not a lot, but we have gotten. What do you do if they don't want to do it?
And we say, "Oh, you don't want to do it? Okay,
yeah, thanks for letting me know."
And we're very pleasant. The people are resistant to act. We say, "Great."
Yeah. We could say, "Well, you must do it."
No, we don't do that.
Come on, that sounds weird. Even just saying that out loud.
Our thing is that we in amongst Phil and Tina and I, and really many others, we do feel it's an obligation for us to show this point of view to people. Literally show it.
It's ethically responsible to show. Yeah.
See the water bottle. But after that,
you're free.
Free to use it or not use it, whatever.
Including free to say, I'd rather not have you show me your point of view.
Yeah, we always have been good for that as well. For people that might refuse to want to see the point of view, of which we would honor that. We wouldn't show it to them. We haven't had it happen. At least I haven't had it happen.
I have not either.
But we would honor it if it did happen. When you get into this space of enhancing or setting the context for increasing psychological flexibility, and I'm not in this space all the time, folks. Listen.
It's a hard space to stay in. It's a really hard space to stay in.
No way. I go out and live life, argue and have opinions.
And then you're gonna run. Your content's going to get you.
Cuss people out that cut me off in traffic.
Oh my gosh! The Jersey Turnpike yesterday. I noticed that.
Man, I have not this month going along. No. However, when I get into this space, into this space. Now I'm really trying to enhance the context for psychological flexibility. So therefore, if somebody says, I don't want to do that.
Right, you are.
Because if I say, no, really, you really ought to take a look at this, that's not psychological flexibility.
Now we're pushing them. And that's back to what we talked about on Monday, radical non-judgmentalism. We're practicing it the entire time we're in this matrix process.
And what it means inside of you, it means you're hooked.
Yeah.
No, you have to try it.
Yeah, you must. Oh, come on.
And it means you're hooked. And so this whole process is about noticing that hookiness showing up and doing your best to let it go. Yeah. Nobody's perfect at it, but that's what we do. So that's why we're so strict on, we're not trying to convince anybody. Nope. And you'll hear it in our words. We say, is it okay if I show you a point of view? And we are literally showing it to people. And then from that point forward, they can take it or leave it. Now, most people then engage and have fun with it. They're like, oh, this is sort of fun. They start playing around with it, like they got a new toy. Great. And then, but every once in a while, people will ask, well, do I, need to do this X number of times?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Some people do, some people don't. I don't know.
I
will say, they say, do you use it? I think, come on. I teach it like 6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
So do I wait? I don't know if I do or not because I spend so darn much time teaching it.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes.
it's
Yeah.
part of my working life. So I suppose I'm sure I catch myself and go, lower left, lower right, yucky stuff showing up, that kind of thing. So I noticed that. But I've heard of people that, geez, it's really a practice for years now of waking up and, having a
Drawing
matrix
cross
diagram,
lines, either on paper or in your head. I do sometimes.
fill them out. There's all kinds of range.
Yeah.
But where,
Hey, I got one for you, Kevin. Yesterday, somebody was watching me. I did a presentation. I was doing some exhibiting at a conference, and somebody was with me, a colleague, and he's watching me all day. And he says, I notice you're not so flexible about how you do that because you pretty much do that. You say the same thing every single time. And I said, right, you are. It's exactly right. Cool that you noticed.
we are radically inflexible.
Yes, I said that. Yes.
and using a very precise language to show this. The reason is fidelity. It's the scientific word for it. So when I'm doing it, it ought to be really darn close to when Phil's doing it.
Yeah.
And really darn close to when Tina's doing it. And really darn close to when Ron's doing it. It needs to have that fidelity to it.
Because we're all looking to set the context for creative problems.
And so in that regard, okay, so you think, if I'm going to go do Hamlet, the Shakespeare Hamlet, I don't have much flexibility.
No.
I got to do Hamlet.
You're not going to go in there and break into a West Side Story song. You're not going to do that.
Right. I'm not ad-libbing and not, doing, no, I'm going to do Hamlet. And so this is that. It's that. Why? Because, we'll go over this more on Friday.
Right.
About there's some very technical reasons that we literally worked for years to come up with the language to get us where we want to go with this. And so we wouldn't be opposed to other people trying language, but we would want them to be very careful in noticing the workability of the language. So why do you mean by that? Here's what Phil and I look for as we head toward Friday. We go in, like Phil was doing yesterday, we show the point of view. And yes, the language is almost spot on the same. Then we're looking for creativity to show up.
Yeah.
That is, to somebody to say, oh, wow, I just thought of this. And I never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Boom. That the technical name for that is derived relational response. And we humans do it. We do it routinely. This is upping the probability of those derived relational responses to happen. So we got our ears cocked, listening for those DRRs.
We're waiting for them.
Now, before then, we might notice their shoulders relax. We might notice their language soften up some. They may
their face slackens to take the tension goes out of their face.
So we have known what they would call it physical correlates to psychological flexibility showing up. And you can see that for sure, but we're noticing that. We're seeing that. So we would invite you, if you're going to play with any language, you got to do that. You got to use the language and then notice the psychological flexibility stuff all the way to derived relational responding showing up. We practice this thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours. Okay, we're the guys in the World Cup soccer league. We're the we've played this a lot, and
In a lot of different places.
to get to where we can sing this song that leads to this derived relational responding. So that's what we're up to. So yeah. Oh, by the way, that's another good example. If I'm going to play in Europe, they call it football. Well, I'm not taking a field hockey stick out there. You know, I'm going to, or a baseball bat, or whatever. I'm showing up and playing football, or in America we call it soccer. It's that kind of thing. Yeah, you practice the craft.
And in between, all those people are practicing all the time.
Another example, and many of you may have at least seen martial arts. You don't go bebopping in the dojo and start doing improv. Now, Mr. Miyagi will get after you.
You won't last very long in the dojo.
Even then, the nice guy, Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid, will get after you, and the mean guy will get after you too.
Oh man, take you right down.
Both get after you.
Yeah,
because you're not supposed to go in there and improv.
Yeah,
not what you do. You go in there and
time for winging it.
You go in there and do a set practice routine.
Practice.
Same with dance. Many of you may have gone to dance class. Well, you practice the basics. You always do the basics. So this is the basics. So there you go. But basically, with all that said, you show the matrix.
Yep.
Now you get that set up. You let people tell a story, blah, 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 blah. And then you go, oh, where might that go? And now you've got the basic process going. And believe it or not, that takes practice.
Yeah.
Just that basic process.
Repetition.
Repetition. A lot of repetition. Not an infinite amount. It's not that. We're not
but
saying
you want your cadence down. You want your timing down. You want to know where you're going, so that you can get that context set up. Because when you do, we've learned from thousands of hours of experience that creativity, it shows up. We're just waiting for it to show up at that point.
Yeah, we get a kick out of it showing up.
Yeah.
That's a good way. We get our jollies off.
Oh yeah, you see it show up and you go, oh yeah, there you go.
You go, did it again.
That's it. Yeah.
Now notice it was their creativity we set up. We didn't give them any suggestions. No. It's their creativity.
They get to celebrate their success.
And that's very cool. We love seeing it happen. So it just works out. It's really a lot of fun. Practically speaking, you practice it every day for a month. That is showing it to other people. You'll notice that you're getting it.
Yep.
Definitely. You would notice that you're getting it. Every day for 60 days, you're going to definitely notice that you're getting stuff. And you'll probably start seeing derived relational responding, that is creativity showing up.
You'll notice it showing up.
If you did it every single day for 90 days, that's 90. Yeah. No, it's getting there. You're definitely. Yeah. And come on, folks. From there, you need to get to the hundreds. It's a martial art, really. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah. But you'll want to keep practicing. Is really what happens.
It's easy to practice, right? I don't mean to make it onerous. It's easy to practice.
It's simple. It's repeatable.
Remember, you can do it twice a day for 90 days, and that's 180. You can do it 3 times a day for 90 days, and that's 270. So you see, you can multiply your effects very quickly by just increasing. At some point, it becomes ridiculous, but 3-4 times a day is totally within the realm. And by the way, you can show it to yourself. It's easy. So if you don't have an audience, just show it to yourself.
I'll do some self practice today.
And by the way, you can create it like a video, a crowdcast channel or something, and you can do it to a video.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
and pretend like you're showing it to other people.
Yeah.
That's fun. People do that as well. There's all kinds of ways you can practice.
Try erase marker on the mirror in the bathroom. There you go.
Oh yeah, it works really well. Oh yeah. And notice that's your own creativity showing up. Gee, how might I practice this? How do I do it? So that's it. But it's simple, folks. Intermediate is sorting. So
That's the game.
You've gotten pretty good at showing the point of view, and you go, oh, that's a process. Now the trick is to have people take content and sort it into the process.
Move them into process. And right.
And you do it for yourself as well. You notice when you're in content and you bring yourself back up out of it by sorting into the categories of the matrix.
Yep.
By all means, we're not saying it's the only thing that does that. There's other ways.
There are many ways to go. Many paths up the mountain, as my
many paths. This is the path we teach. So what we do. So, and it's fun. You'll see, it's fun. Becomes sort of a mindful practice after a while.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is exciting. Very exciting.
By the way, and we'll be back. And there is technical stuff.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, there's negative reinforcement over on the left-hand side, and there's positive reinforcement over on the right-hand side. There's a theory of language and cognition that is used in this and was built into it, and some other stuff that is.
And there's the philosophy of science.
By the way, a philosophy of life.
Yep.
A philosophy of living that goes
all
at
there.
the core of this. So on Friday, we'll discuss that philosophy and a little bit of learning theory and a little bit of language and cognition theory, and show you how those all are wrapped into this diagram. Took thousands of hours to do that, folks. If you haven't read the book, or at least the first one, I estimated 17,000 hours that it took me before that derived relational response that is now known as the matrix took 17,000 hours for it to show up. Yeah, do the math. That's years of work for that to show up. And all the while pouring that stuff into it. So we'll go over that on Friday. The book again, let me see, there's two of them.
Title of the book.
The best one is this one.
I got it right here. You got it? Yeah, okay, you got it.
This has got Phil's chapter in it. But there's also this one.
Yeah.
So this one is called The ACT Matrix, a new approach to building psychological flexibility across settings and populations. So this one has different chapters. Phil wrote a chapter, I wrote a chapter, Florian Saffer wrote a chapter about actin digestible bites.
Yeah, very cool chapter.
People that use, there's a chronic pain chapter.
Yep.
Stuff in there.
PTSD stuff
you
wrote.
This one was more written by me and Benji and Mark Webster and Fabian. And really, practically speaking, one or two of us wrote the chapters. I wrote chapter 10 and a couple other ones. Chapter 10 is my favorite, but that's called The Essential Guide to the ACT Matrix. And chapter 2 is onerous. I think it's 2 about that's
the bear.
That's verbal Aikido.
Yeah. the six-step verbal Aikido.
I wouldn't do that.
Lose me after step 3.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's also this one that Kevin and Tina Long and I just put out, which is our latest iteration, which gets into you're upping your game and your game for life coaching, executive coaching, crisis management that has come from all of our crowdcasts, literally.
So this evolved, by the way, folks, this non-judgmental, non-changing approach led to it being purely a coaching kind of model, a training and coaching kind of model. So we're not trying to fix things.
Nope.
But many people want to up their game. And so that's what it becomes about. Somebody has the desire to up their game. They have the desire to up their game. We're not coming and saying, you need to up your game. No.
They've got the momentum. They're trying to get somewhere.
They say, I want to be better at tennis. I want to be better at guitar. I want to be better at managing. I want to be better at whatever. Great. Here we go. And that's what that book's about. Everybody's an executive coach. Everybody's an executive. We all manage coaches.
Yep.
So we'll see you on Friday. It'll be
Yes,
wild.
we will.
As usual.
Good times.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.